Hey, everybody. How are you? How is everyone? I hope you're having a great night. Yes, our setup is a little different. But sometimes that calls because it is cold outside. But I want to tell everyone thank you so much for your continued support and continuously watching us. Thank you for your views and for our supporters out there. And also, I want to be able to thank Alicia Campbell, which is our gold sponsor. Thank you so much. Check out Urban Fairies of Staten Island. They're a nonprofit 501c3 organization out here in Staten Island. They do wonderful work here in the community. And they have been with the holidays, they have been doing so many events and giveaways, and especially for the moms out there. So, if you want to go ahead and check them out, Urban Fairies of Staten Island, you could find them on Facebook and you could also find them on Instagram. And of course, you will find them on our platforms as well. So if you're wanting to seek some community services, if you want to know what donations they can receive, please hit them up. And I believe also they are hiring, they are looking for help. So go on to the Facebook page, Urban Fairies of Staten Island. And the director of that program is Alicia Campbell. And definitely hit them up if you're seeking to volunteer, if you're seeking for a job, if you're seeking a place to receive donations or for the community as well. So definitely thank you so much, Alicia, for your sponsorship. We love you and we will continue supporting you and as you supporting us as well. So thank you so much. Um, and of course, if you can catch this video, please make sure that you go on to our YouTube channel, Let Your Voices Be Heard, a podcast show, just like that in the search bar in YouTube, and you will find our channel there. So make sure that when you're there, subscribe and make sure that you are following us on that platform as well. So we appreciate everyone that's watching this video. And I wanted to introduce my co-host, Myra Sanchez, of course, from Dragon Lifestyle. Hi, Myra.
Hi, Marcy. I'm so glad I'm here, even though it's virtual this time.
Yes, of course. Definitely. Like I said, it won't stop us from doing what we're doing because we have so many different topics that we want to be able to bring to you throughout the year. And today's topic, okay, we call it We Don't Want to Talk About Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno.
No,
And
we
why
don't.
is that? Right?
I
It's
love your sense
funny.
of humor on this subject, by the way.
I I know, but wait until we tell them what kind of topic it is. So we don't talk about Bruno. Basically, we wanted to bring some encouragement, some enlightenment to a lot of people during these holiday seasons. And I really truly feel that during the holiday seasons, there are a lot of people that are grieving um, of their loss, whether it's a friend or family or mom or dad or child. It is very difficult around the holidays to basically be happy, right? Because if your heart is heavy and you're grieving, it can be challenging is maybe that's the word to use, right?
I
Everybody,
agree.
yes,
I agree, Marcy. It can create a really big inner conflict because it's almost like a dirty secret you're carrying out there, and while you're looking at all the movies and all the Hallmark feelings, and you're expected to be very cheerful and very happy, and yet you feel sad and depressed.
Yes, yes. And like there is so many ways um to try to deal with that. But some people don't know how to go about it, right? I want to say that myself, of course, I have grieved losses in my life. I'm sure that have other people have grieved as well, right? That's why we have on this topic. Uh, but to me, dealing with that, sometimes it's all depending on also on the person, right? Who passed away. I mean, somebody close to you or maybe not close, but still it's a death. Someone's passing, right? You say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. My condolences." Offer up, prayers and healing. So many ways to try to console that person. But for me, my grief, if I should just start off on this, my grieving has been for 40 years. When I lost my dad, I was very young. And I was still a child. I was 13, 14 years old. I did not know what was really happening. The only thing that I knew is that the man that I loved so dearly was no longer here. It wasn't until I was an adult that I really looked back on the moments that we had together and the moments that I remember taking trips with him, doing so many things with him. I feel like I picked up a lot of his traits. And as time goes by, right, it feels not as harsh at first, but the pain is still there, right? The memory is still, I still cry. I still shed tears for him because I think about, wow, what about if my dad was still here, right? He would have been able to see his grandchildren. He would have been able to see me growing old. I would have been able to take care of him. So many thoughts that come through my mind. So you can imagine on how other people feel still about that. It could be 40 years, it could be last week. When we are grieving, is because we're sobbing inside, and it's the absence of life that we miss, and that void that we miss. And that's what hurts us in our heart. And I've seen also my family members go through a loss of their father. Um, you know, to this day, it's only been 3 years, but 3 years, it could be just yesterday for someone, right? Because 3 years goes by so fast, right? And they're still going through that motion, that emptiness, the memories, um, the videos, people look at pictures. That's why I love being a photographer. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off topic, but it's true. I mean, if it wasn't for pictures, if it wasn't for photography, you would now still be able to see that person that you love so much, and you go back to that picture and you see them, and it's like, oh, I wish I could hug you and kiss you, but you have that memory and you're able to see it in a video or in a picture. It's so important to record time. And I think that's one of the reasons why also that I wanted to be a photographer, because of that. And also because my father was one too. He loved pictures. And I believe he passed that trait on to me as well, you know? So it has more of a meaning for me, being a photographer. But let's go back to the topic.
Well,
So,
I want to thank you for sharing that, and I want to say that I relate. Obviously, you know part of my story. You know that I lost
yes,
my dear brother at 16, so it's almost 40 years for me as well. And
yeah,
I definitely feel his loss, his absence every day of my life, and certainly around this time of year because he died around Thanksgiving,
Right.
and also because his birthday is in December. So there are
Mm,
just a lot of things that all of a sudden trigger those memories for me. So I really understand. And I think the one thing that I want to highlight in this conversation is the fact that society fails us because
mm,
society doesn't really talk about this subject. We don't really allow ourselves to explore this side of life because death
right.
is a part of life. It's part of
Right.
it's a reality. There's no avoiding that, and yet people want to avoid this conversation, want to act as if it doesn't exist, and some people are okay with that, and some people are not okay with that, and the
Right.
combination of that leads us to have this very awkward relationship with death
Right.
and very awkward conversations, right?
Right.
And so that highlights this inner conflict because you don't know who you're going to meet. You know, you don't know if this person is one of those people that are okay talking about death, or if you're going to meet someone who's like, don't talk to me about that. That's like bringing it forward. I don't want to hear that. Why are you such a negative person? You know, they just make all these accusations. And
Right.
and I really believe that it is our duty to really shed light on this subject
Right.
so that it loses that taboo feeling
Yeah.
that we all have, and then we start to reconcile this because the result is that all this avoidance has created all this drama and all these
Mm,
problems because, legal ones as
right.
well as family ones, right? There's conflict
Right.
relationally with people who process death differently. And
Right.
then there's also the realities of people being underprepared,
Right.
for the
Yes.
funeral, for the costs, for
Ah,
what happens with what they leave behind. I mean, I can't
yeah.
tell you how often I witnessed in a funeral, like a offering dish
Right.
going
Yeah.
around because there
Yeah.
wasn't enough money to bury the person, or
Right.
the times when siblings were like incredibly angry and nasty with each other because they were fighting over some measly amount of money that was left in a can somewhere.
Right. That's
I mean,
right.
it's
Yeah.
really incredible, right?
Yeah.
And because I saw those things as a young person, it made me very curious and very unwilling to just ignore what had happened
Mm,
to me,
mm,
what had happened
yeah.
in our family. It really taught me to pay attention.
Right. And that's and you hit it right on the head because I've seen the same thing and I'm like, especially if you know that you're ill, right? Or if you're sick or, something is going on, or even a sudden death. And it doesn't matter how young you are. You don't have to be old and retired in order to get ready, right? I think that's
Hmm.
something that we should all be aware of as far as no matter how old you are. I don't know about you, but personally me, when I was in corporate America, when you fill out those packets of your benefits, right? A lot of those benefits include life insurance. And I was like, yeah, I want that. Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You just don't know when you're going to leave this earth. And you don't want to leave that burden upon your family members or your friends. What do I do? How am I going to do this? A funeral right now, it costs thousands of dollars, and I think that's why a lot of people are more doing cremation because when situations like that happen, that is the cheapest form way of, putting your loved ones to rest, because they weren't able to, afford a whole full funeral, so
Hmm.
I see that, and it makes you think like, wow, I really do got to prepare, and if you've seen enough of, people passing away and in that situation, do your research, get something. Nowadays, you pay 40, $50 a month, even though I'll say, hey, I don't got that. But there are something out there that you could definitely prepare yourself for. So, I mean, hey, if anybody needs help with that, let me know. I'll try to help as much as I can, but it is so necessary. It is so necessary.
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And again, we're going off on a little bit of a tangent, but again, this part is also incredibly important and something to at least pass over, right? Estate planning is an important step to take. And one of the things uh, that all of this information allows is for a person to have more aliveness. That's
Right.
the one thing that I also really learned from my brother's passing and all the other family members that I witnessed is that I learned to value my time here on earth,
Right.
right?
Right.
I also thought about how am I impacting? How do I want to be remembered, And asking oneself those questions really does a lot to position yourself for a more meaningful and fulfilling experience through life.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, life is short, man.
Yeah.
We gotta, life is short.
Yeah. Life can feel really short when you're wasting time, right?
Yes.
But if you really suck the juice out of life, it feels long enough.
Yes, Myra.
It
You're
does. It feels
absolutely
long
right.
enough. But I
It
I will
does.
I want to take a moment, Marcy, and share the statistics, right? Because this is what
Yes.
I do. I go in and I try to identify the statistics around these subjects that we decide to put forth. I was
Yes.
really shocked to hear that the American Psychiatric Association did a Healthy Minds poll in November of 2025, and they discovered that nearly half of the US adults identified missing a loved one or grief as a primary worry this season.
Wow.
48% of people, right? It's really interesting how when I'm in my dark moments, I really think I'm alone.
Right.
And
Right.
and this statistic identifies that we are not alone and that that,
We are
that
not
in
alone.
fact there are so many people who are experiencing the same things, right? This is a
Right.
really powerful um, awareness that
Yes.
bigger grief has a bigger presence in our
Right.
society than we
Right.
actually are comfortable acknowledging.
Wow. I mean, that is a lot. 48%. That's a lot, right?
48%, right. And
Wow.
so
That is a
what I
lot.
think is really important about this is to highlight the sensitivity
Mm,
that you don't know if it's 48%, you could be talking to someone that just served you breakfast
right.
and misinterpret something that they said or did
Right.
and they could be grieving, right?
Yeah.
They could be going through something in that moment. And sometimes we get so personalized
Mm,
around around the way we expect to be treated and we forget the
yeah.
kindness that should be happening around this time of year, right? We should be more cognizant about
Right.
loving our neighbors and being more sensitive to the pain and suffering that that goes on, especially if you're a faithful person.
Right. I agree on that. It's totally 100%. Um, Not only grieving, it's a mental thing also, right? You don't, like you just said, we don't know what a person is really going through in their personal lives or in their hearts or in their minds. Sometimes, those people that are out there and it's like they bump into you, you're like, hey, you know, and but you don't know what kind of thoughts or days, that person is going through. And yeah, there is lack of kindness out here, because people are so within tune within themselves and they just don't think in that perspective. But you know that's another thing too. I mean, when you're going through that grieving process, it's all three, right? Emotional, spiritual, mentally, right? Mental, the mental part of it, we could get lost in deep in thought, right? I think the more that you have the grieving part in your mind, it does affect your heart. Your emotions can start to come out. I mean, let me give you an example. I have known people and friends that they have lost their loved ones, and they have not shed one tear. And
Hmm.
it's like, oh, okay, because it is, for me, is natural, right? To cry, to yell, to scream, to fight, because you're expressing that emotion that you're going through because you just went through a loss. But what in their mind is, what are you going through in your mind when you're just not shedding a tear, not showing any emotion? Um, to me, I feel like they're still in shock, right? To me, I feel like their brain has not processed the death of that person. To me, I feel like they can be in denial also, right? But no emotion shown, no tears. And because I know that person, I'll be like, are you okay? Because it's like it's just odd to me that they're not shedding that, right? Everybody
Mhm.
grieves differently, but when a couple of weeks have passed and or anything, you just, like, okay, you give them time, but they still have not shed any tears or still not shown any emotion. Now I'm beginning to worry because I'm like, okay, what's going on in your head? What is it? Do you need my shoulder? Do you want me to cry with you? Do you want me to hug you? Like, what do you need? Like, I want them to bring it out. And it's like, no. No, I haven't cried. No, I haven't shed a tear. Oh, I don't know, because I'm an emotional person. I could be an emotional wreck. And then to see that, I think is truly amazing on how people just really react to tragedy in a different way. Um,
Well, I think you bring up a I think you bring up a good point, and that is that death is traumatic.
yes,
It's a
it is.
traumatic experience, and because it's a traumatic experience, it it has its own timing,
Right.
right? Some people survive a traumatic experience by suppressing
Mm-hmm.
everything about it, and other people survive it by expressing everything about
That's
it,
true.
right? And I think that there's no right or wrong about it. I think it's just a question of being willing to be present through the process in all the stages, right?
Right.
Because I know that we talked some time ago about the 7 stages of grief. And I know
Yes.
for me, um, I witnessed my mom grieving the death of my brother, but she got stuck,
Mm.
right? She got
Yeah.
stuck in the stages of grief, and that's what she role modeled to me. And so
Mm.
I came away from that experience while I was still young and impressionable,
Mm-hmm.
thinking,
Mm.
okay, now, you never forget the person. You always almost like you almost build a shrine to them,
Right. Right.
right? And my mother's life from that moment forward was not full anymore. Like she
Mm.
just didn't let herself really enjoy things because she had this belief that she couldn't enjoy anything because she had lost her son.
I see. Yeah.
And I think that, well, I don't think, I know that there are cycles of grief, and that if you go through the process naturally, you eventually come to the space of acceptance.
Right.
And then when you smile, it's genuine, right? Because then you're not only in the pain anymore, you then start to honor the people that you
Right.
loved, and you start remembering the joyful times, the lessons they taught you, the things that 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 mattered about their life for
Right.
you, and you start to carry them with you wherever you go.
Hmm.
There is this impression that everybody gets that we should move on.
Mm, yeah.
That when
Right.
when someone dies, and if you haven't expressed the kind of emotions that are expected by your family or by the person that that you have this death in common with, then there's this expectation.
Right.
And if you don't
Right.
fulfill it, then it's like,
Mm,
okay, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get over it already, right?
right.
And what I've learned to be true is that because there's that timing, that we have to just kind of leave some room for that.
Mm, yeah.
And y- you know, my mom didn't allow us to talk about my brother. She didn't allow
Mm.
me to talk about my brother because if I just even mentioned his name, she cried even more. So in fact, my brother's name became Bruno.
Yes.
Right? And it
Wow.
became
Yeah.
that thing. We're not going to talk about Bruno anymore, right? He's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
hurt so deeply. That hurt
I
me so
know.
deeply because I just didn't want to leave behind someone that was so vitally important in my life. So
Right.
meaningful. Like, I mean, we were
Right.
so close. Like, we were close, like, there's that old saying, uña y mugre.
Ah, yes.
Like
Uña,
that's how close we were.
two
We
peas
were
in a
uña y
pod.
mugre, and I'm not going to say who was mugre, but in essence, that's the way it was. And so
Yeah.
to live my life without him in it was
Right.
unthinkable, was
Yeah.
unthinkable. And all
And
all I did, because I didn't want my mom to be in pain, I started to feel like I was guilty. I was the one to blame. I was making
mm,
her even worse. So then that made me suppress. That made
yes.
me get so hyper rational about it that
Mm,
I just privatized all those feelings and all that grief, and then I just locked it deep, 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 deep inside me. And it took me so many decades to be able
mm,
to start to heal.
right. Yeah.
And that's really what complicates grief, because on top of that, then there were other losses.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but now I had learned that's how you do it. So every time I had a loss, I just stuffed it down deeper into that
Mm,
place in my heart,
right.
right? So a lot of people would have said exactly what you said. How could you be so cold? Right? And
Right.
people would have thought
Right.
I was cold, but I wasn't cold. I just was unable to express something that was
Mm,
so powerful for me because I didn't want to bother anybody. I didn't want to make other people cry. I didn't want to upset
right.
anybody, right?
That's
And that
crazy,
was
right?
because I got that feedback early
Right.
that you know that's what I was causing because
Right.
this event happened. It traumatized everybody. Everybody in the family had an experience, but I was the one that got that message because I
Mm,
was closest to my mom. Stop
right.
it. You're making her upset. Stop it. You're making her cry. And then
Mm.
this was another thing my mom said to me, which I'll never forget. She said, He was your brother, but he was my son."
Oh, like diminishing your value of your relationship with your brother.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's,
Making it a
yeah,
competition, and it wasn't a
yeah,
competition, right? But at
right,
that, I don't blame her. I just
mm,
recognize that I have to empathize and have compassion for her because from her
right,
perspective, she was in so much pain and she had no idea how to manage it.
mm. That does definitely happen, and I think it also comes with that old school thinking, right? Like, oh, si tú no hablas, yo no siento. Like, if you don't talk about it, I don't feel it, and just try to put it like a elf on a shelf. Put it
Yep,
just like
that's
there
right.
and just let it, and that's it. But then in her private moments, in her private thoughts, of course she's going to be grieving, but she didn't want to show that to the world. And she didn't want to, be reminded of it or however she felt at the moment. I mean, losing a child, I mean, I can't even imagine, right? But still, yeah, in that moment, as a mom, yeah, you lost this child, but you also have your other children, right? That you have to look out for and make sure that they're okay. And how are you feeling? But she didn't have that in her because she was dealing with her own grief. So she wasn't
Right.
able to open that up and, give you guys that comfort, right? So because she was trying to find means and ways to comfort herself in the way that she was receiving his death. And it's hard, and sometimes at that age, you feel a little confused. It's like, what's why, is she acting this way? um but this is how people do receive this. And like, going back to what I was saying, like, you know um the person that doesn't show that emotion, and it's like you're waiting to see, like, are you gonna cry? What's going on, and it's like, no. But I'm sure that they do, in their own private moments, in their own ways. But I feel like between the shock and the loss and the emotion, and it's just like it's a whirlwind of thoughts in their head and in their hearts. So it's kind of difficult for, when I go and I see that person, my friend, that was not reacting. Um, they didn't react. I'm going to be quite honest. They did not react to that death until maybe 2 years after, and it took them 2 years to even shed a tear. And I'm like, wow. And it's like that's powerful. How the mind, works in that way when you're going through that loss, right?
I'm
And it,
curious. I'm
yes.
curious if I may ask you, that person, were they male or female?
It was a friend of mine that lost their sibling. Go figure. Yes. And like you said, they were very close, right? But I guess because of the way that she was reacting towards her loss with that, I just accepted it. I didn't want to say, hey, so many times that you could say, are you okay? Right? And then you get the same answer. So it's like, okay, I back up. And I
Yeah,
just I just want to reassure them that when you're ready, I'm here. And that's the only thing that I can really basically, offer at the moment, because you just can't force a person to feel what they don't feel, but you can support them. So it's a lot of ways that people do receive death, and especially like what you mentioned before, the seven stages of grief, right? um I did number them. So
you did? Wow.
yeah, yes. um Seven stages, and correct me if I'm wrong. It comes with regrets, the time spent reflecting, spiritual, the triggers, um denial of the death of that person, and also the how, right? How did they die? The language, what do you say? And on their way to death, preparing for their passing. So those things, I believe that it plays a big part. I've heard a lot of people that also they have had regrets that they did not was able to do the things that they wanted to do before that person passed. The time spent, they didn't spend enough time with that person, reflecting, reflecting on what went wrong, what went right with that person, right? Anger, anger plays a big role in that as well, because you're angry because of the regrets, the time spent, and the reflecting, and the spiritual, and all of that. You're just angry. People do reflect on that anger, like, like, why? And and spiritual. I think everything is, when it comes to the death part. The triggers, what are the triggers? The triggers are looking at a picture, hearing a song, smelling a scent, a favorite dish, um, flowers. It could be anything that has a significance to that person, connected to that person. And it could make you cry, or it could make you angry, or it could just give you a bag of mixed emotions, you know? And when you see a person going through that, like with the language, what do you say? What can you say to comfort them? Or what can you do? But mostly I believe in words, which sometimes my words are like dyslexia. Sometimes it's like I'm all over the place, but I try to, you know, um think before you speak type of thing. And but it's so hard. Like, what do you say? I'm sorry for your loss. My prayers are with you. My condolences. These are something that it's so common to say when it's just the only thing that people can really offer up on saying something, instead of being silent. So, it's so many different things that we can say. The
In
how.
in in my experience, in my community, I was the pioneer in my community. I was the first to get pregnant. I was the first to get married. I was the first to experience death and loss.
Mm,
So in my community, I often find myself being someone that people can talk to about these subjects because for
right,
them it happened much later and they don't have the experience, right? Uh,
right.
and one thing that I've been able to do is share, right?
Mm,
Talk about my experience, and then in my experience, they find their own experience.
mm,
Like they
right,
find they in my vocabulary, because I've had to process these feelings and these thoughts and these ideas, they then find vocabulary. Because again, that's what I'm aware of is that because we don't get any genuine training
right.
as a society, like we really just don't get any hints at all about how to
Yeah,
process these things. We're not actually normalizing
right,
this enough so that people actually can see themselves in these stories and then they have
right,
something to say to relate to a person. Um,
right,
so that's how I've experienced it and being the person that can help others figure out what they feel around
right.
these issues. But for me, because I had a lot of people who meant well and wanted to help me during
Right.
those difficult moments when they witnessed me really struggling. And one of the things that I found was very helpful was one person said to me, I don't really know what to say, but
Mm,
I really care for you and I want to sit with you.
that's
And they just
awesome.
put their hand on my hand. And that really made a big impression in my life at that time
Mm,
because it was just honest.
right. And it sounded so simple, right?
It was just an honest awareness that they didn't
Right,
really have any words and also just a opportunity like they just opened their heart and said, I care about you, which
right.
was so impactful, right? And
Yeah,
it didn't I was kind of surprised by that, but it really did make a big difference for me and through that I learned how impactful it is for me to be open and for me
right,
to just
right,
share what's genuinely on my mind. And I have had moments when I hit a situation and I have nothing to say.
right,
I have had those moments. As a matter of
right.
fact, I won an award once because I actually was the only person in the room. This was in a professional setting. I was the only person in the room who was willing to say, I don't know.
Oh, wow, really?
I don't know
Oh,
the answer to
wow.
that question. Yeah, and I got it because this is a big room, or at that time this was a big room, and there were so many hundreds of people. But out of
Right,
all those hundreds of people, these professional people, I was the only one willing to admit
right,
I didn't know. I didn't know the answer to the question. And
right.
somehow that that was very impressionable and worthy
Mm,
of a, a reward. And
right.
it really impacted me because I take that for granted about myself, being able
Mm,
to say, I don't know if I
yeah.
really don't know, but I am the kind of person that's willing to find out, right? Like I'm
You
not
sure
afraid to
do.
say I don't know,
Yes, yes.
right? And
Right.
and and I learned to do that because that person did that for me.
Mm. So somebody touched you with that.
Somebody
You took it.
somebody role modeled that, and it
Yeah,
left such an impression inside me that I felt that really changed my character, and then I wanted to be that kind of person, that kind of
wow.
have that kind of radical honesty to be able to say, yeah, I'm a human being. I'm not going to know it all, but I am willing to admit that
Right,
and also be present for another person.
right. You see, not everybody thinks that same way. That's why we're here to try to, at least give some good tips or at least talk to someone that needs this right now, right? And it's all according to the type of personality you have and the characteristics you have, and how you receive information. Like I know some people like they just faint from the smallest sight of blood. So I was like, okay, you know, but that's just what, that's how they are. I was like, really? I just had a little cut and you're like, so it's like,
Yeah.
really? It's a little cut and you're like, but that goes to show you like how your mind can only take so much of trauma, from the littlest little cut to like death. And there's an extremity there, but it's hard for a lot of people to be open and to show that emotion. It also could be pride and ego, because no, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be strong and brave and I'm not gonna cry and I'm just gonna deal with this. And, if I show weakness, people are gonna take advantage or whatever the thoughts, crazy thoughts are in their head. It's just the way that they really deal. But I just want to tell everyone that it's okay, man. We're human and we can cry and we could just express our emotions and be able to, you want to punch a pillow, you want to throw something, if you want to do it in private, you could do it. But grieving, the loss of someone that you truly care for and love, I mean, these are things that we have no control over, right? And it's just something that it's just humanistic. And you know we just want to be able to say, hey, it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to
And
show
it's
your emotion.
natural.
And it's natural, right?
And
Because
grief
we
is
are human.
natural. And dying is natural.
Yes, yes. And death comes in so many different ways. You ever remember that show that says 1000 ways to die?
No.
Oh my God, it was a crazy show back in the early 2000s. Why am I bringing this up? I don't even know. But it's just, it's just that, you just got to find a little bit of humor somewhere in there in the tragedy, right? But yeah, I think that it's also all according to how the person has passed on. I mean, people pass on from natural causes. Some people pass on because they were, unalived, or some people passed on because something happened, tragically happened, or so many ways. That's why I think I brung up 1000 ways to die. But however that person passed away, I think it hurts more if it's something that it was unexpected, you know eh, not natural, of natural causes, or or sicknesses or illness. Like when you're dealing with someone that has cancer or someone that has a sickness that can't take your life away, and they're on their deathbed or they're passing away. It could be somebody very young, it could be somebody old. But even though in that moment, there are people that are in denial. No, they're gonna get better. They're going to, take medication. They're gonna be fine. When they're telling you no, they only have this certain amount of time to to live. Even if it's not, let me go off a little topic on there. Even if it's not human, like with my dog, I know it's crazy, right? But still, it's still death, and it's still death of something that you truly love, right? I was in denial that my dog was passing away, and I was not seeing the signs, right? And even though I took him to the vet, and even though the vet gave me medication, um, and saying, you know, I just totally like I went like this, and I didn't want to hear the parts where he was telling me your dog is gonna pass away. I just went like this. I didn't want to hear it. And he gave me that medication, and I thought that that medication was to make him better, but it was just to ease him into his death.
Mm.
So when I saw how he was reacting, or how he was just finding a space in the house just to lay and pass away, I was like, come on, no, 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 we're gonna go outside. You need some air. I was so in denial, Myra. Like I did not, I knew, but I did not want to admit it. And I feel like I'm comparing this to a dog from a human, but it's the same thing, because people react, it can have the same reaction, whether it's a dog or a human, right? I would
Sometimes
say,
even an even more intense reaction when it's
yeah,
an animal,
yes.
a
And that's
mascot.
what, yes, definitely. And I had him for 14 years, man. And you just don't know, like, you know, my reaction was like, I was so torn, because at the end, he wound up passing away in my arms. And when I went to go look down, he was already gone. So to go through that trauma and the crying and the emotion, I was so emotional. And this was like 5 years ago. And I still, like, I see, a little dog that looks like him. It brings me to tears. And those are triggers. Those are triggers, right?
I can see that just looking at you as you're sharing the story. I can see
Yes.
you re touching those feelings again.
Yes, because it's strong and it's still there and it's fresh in my mind still. And it's a little creature that you love so much, and you just cherish it so much. And I was just in denial. I was just like, no, he's gonna be better. He's gonna get better. And unfortunately, of course, he wasn't. But
Well,
I wanted
well,
to,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I just wanted to set that as an example, not because it was a dog, but that's how usually that's how people can react to something that they know that they can't have no control over. And
Yeah.
that was me. That was me.
Yeah. Well, I again, I'm touched by what you said, and of course, I have my own passing of the dog story. But I can really, I recognize that is the case, that it really challenges us to let go, right? Death
Yeah.
is that moment where you really get to know how easily or how impossible it is to let go, right?
Yeah.
And when my mother passed away, I wasn't ready. I
Mm,
wasn't ready, even though I knew it was coming.
right.
It still felt like a surprise when it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's this unreasonable idea that we can ever be ready, right? I mean,
Mm,
it's unreasonable, right? Like we think we can be ready, and then the moment happens and we're not ready. Because the
right.
same thing
Yeah.
happened when my brother died. I definitely thought I was ready because I knew
Right.
he was suffering because he looked so bad and I wanted that to end for him.
Right.
And also I wanted the pain in the family to end, right? Because everybody was in pain all the time, not just my
Right.
brother, right?
Right.
Because we were all sort of going to the hospital constantly and everything was awkward and everything was different. And as a child, I didn't understand why it was
Mm,
necessarily
right.
like fully, but I had a sense that it
Right.
could end if my brother died, right? And so I started to emotionally detach from him
Mm-hmm.
about a week before he died. He was like almost like always asleep, but then he
Right.
would his eyes would open when someone he hadn't seen for a long time would come into the hospital or something
Mm,
like that. So he
yeah.
wasn't asleep, but in a sense, I guess we all subconsciously agreed that we would try to make distance, emotional distance, just to
Right.
support each other in this
Right.
in this unavoidable eventuality,
Yeah.
right? And I saw that pattern emerge again when my father was dying. Like
Mm,
there was this feeling that I had that I needed to get ready. And
right.
and so at that time, I did the opposite. Like instead of allowing my mind to start to detach me emotionally from the experience,
Right.
I made an effort to do the opposite and be like, no, I'm going to really be present for this. I'm going to really like show up for my dad and I'm going to do all the things that I didn't do around my brother. Now, I
Mm,
was 16, right? So I was 16.
right.
So there's some of like I didn't know what I was doing at 16, right? But when my father passed, I was in my 50s. So I did know something, right?
Right. Right.
About something different, about something more about my capacity to withstand the
Mm,
discomfort and the awkwardness of
right.
of watching someone you love slipping away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And know that you can't change it and you're begging God to like give him more life and
Yeah.
and you see that that's not you're not getting your way, right? And
Mm,
so it's really an opportunity to number one see again
right.
where on the spectrum am I in terms of letting go, right? How
Right.
how how easy can I do that or how impossible, how much do I resist it? And then it's
Right.
also an opportunity to develop the skill,
Mm,
right? So each day that I would go and I would see my dad, I was consciously aware and consciously trying
right.
to to recognize the reality and live in it, which is death and life is not in our hands. Like it's a
Right.
God thing and I have to just accept that. I have to just like trust that. And
Yes.
and so
It is.
I constantly worked on that. And it really helped me because I noticed that one of the things that I was trying to avoid by being more present was forgetting my dad, right? Because
Mm,
I love my brother, and thankfully, because he was an actor and he was in movies and and there's video and things that even though he died so many years ago, I
right.
have access to that. And it gives me a
Yeah.
sense of like he's still here, right? Which has
Right.
been an incredible and extraordinary positive gift.
Yes.
But most of the time, that's not how it goes.
Right.
And and so even though I had those memories, those movies, those commercials that printed
Yeah.
media,
Yeah.
my memory of my brother is fading
Mm,
because there's been so much time and because I did that emotional distancing. And
mm,
that's what I didn't want to repeat with my dad. I didn't
mm,
want to like actually forget.
yeah.
I
It's
wanted to
it, it
actually hold on and remember more. So that was one of the ways that I coped with that process and allowed
mm,
myself to grow and develop more depth.
right.
And I mean, I have no regrets
Right.
because I was really present. And then same thing
Right.
with my mom, that even though I wasn't ready
Mm,
and I felt that surprise, that first wave of shock and like, oh no, I'm not ready. I'm holding on. I'm grappling. I'm bargaining. I'm like, this isn't really happening.
right.
Once I went through that process and my emotions calmed, then I was
Mm,
back to no regrets because I really was present for every stage and every moment as that process
right.
unfolded.
Right.
And I have really powerful experiential memories of my mother. It's not just a mind thing. Like I can feel her heart, her hands in my hands, and I can
Yeah.
feel her, my body was really in it. And that's something that I learned and was really meaningful. So I'm curious to hear how you coped. What are the top three ways that you cope with grief?
Mm, good question. I dealt with, well, before I answer that question, I wanted to go back into the time frame, right? Because you mentioned like you didn't want to forget your brother, right? Because it's been so long. And sometimes I really do feel that because my dad has passed away so long ago. Um, it's like it's hard because when you're a kid, right? And then now, you're in your 50s and it's like you so many years have passed. I try to always keep his memory alive. And I do that through pictures. I do that through trinkets and things that he left behind that my mom gave to me. Like I have, it's so crazy. I have his pen that he used to sign his contracts with because he was a businessman and he owned businesses and he was a barber and he owned shops. So my mom gave it to me in a case, in a glass case with the pen, and it still worked. I was like, wow, you know, but I don't use it, but there are times that I still open it and I look at it and I'm like, wow, dad, I really truly miss you. And I have this little tortuguita. It's a little turtle. And I think I posted it up on Facebook. And it's the process of like how these things that you find when you're moving. So it's like, okay, I found the little turtle and it was an old little jewelry box. And the turtle had ruby stones on top and it was all gold filled and it was solid. And you would open it and you could put like little jewelry or little trinkets and stuff like that. And I remember that he gave that to me. So there are things that I still try to keep his memory alive. And yes, I do get scared sometimes because I'm like, oh my God, I really hope that as I'm getting older, I don't forget him. So, it can be a little scary with that, but I think about that and then I was like, no, I look at his picture and I have his picture with my mom in my hallway in my passageway, and I see him all the time, and that's a reminder for me to say, hey dad, I still love you, I still remember you, and I still remember the songs that you used to sing me as a little girl, and those are the memories that I want to be able to keep alive. But how I cope with the death that I have experienced in my life, uh well, as I mentioned, my dad, I was young, right? So I didn't know too much how to express it until I got older, right? Um, when my cousin passed away, he was my favorite cousin. I loved him to death. We used to always hang out. We used to always fight. We used to always curse each other out, but we loved each other. And dealing with that, I like to be able to express myself and remembering these things. Um, and when the birthdays come around, when their anniversary comes around, I still call my cousin, which is her brother, and we talk about it, and we laugh, we cry. It's just for me personally, I like to keep that memory alive by engaging with the people that we knew, that he knew, and just trying to keep those good memories there. And that's how I really cope. One thing I'm not ready for, because I know my mom, God bless her soul, she's 86 and she's up there in age, and time spent, right? That's one of the seven stages, right? Time spent. Um, I want to be able to spend more time with her. I want to be able to, be there more for her. I call her every day, every other day. She's a little far from me, but that's okay. Um, but that's what I want to be able to do because I know that they're getting up in that age. So that's how I try to cope with things that I know that has to do with death and coping with what's to come. So, but like you said, you never really prepare or are prepared when that moment comes. And it's just like, wow, is this real life right now? So it can be. And there's just like I said, there's people out there that are going through it. And I mean, what do you say to them? Why, how is it that you will be able to give them some type of word to help them in their grieving process in these times, in the holidays, and just to say, hey, it's okay.
Is that a
So
question? Are you
what?
asking me?
Yes.
Okay, well, my major suggestion is listening more, smiling more, and sharing that look, because I think when you resonate on the same frequency, you
Mm,
kind of you kind of see that in each other, right? You those mirror neurons, they showcase that,
right.
right? I think that this is a season of kindness, and this is a season of love, and this is a season of warmth. And so I intentionally make that effort as I go out into the world to just smile more, be more aware of people, capture like eye to eye contact, because um, loneliness is really widespread.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said earlier, 48% of people are grieving. And
Right.
I'm one of those 48%. Right? Like I'm not actively in a wave of grief at this very moment,
Right.
but I've been there. And
Right.
because I've been there, I know the signs. I know the smiles where they don't reach the eyes. There are no
Right.
smiles. It's like it's just like this forced thing, and you're just trying to just sneak away before anybody asks you, how are you really?
Right.
Or
Right.
or those statements where people are just quickly say fine, and move on. I really just try to listen more and be more
Right.
aware and just really believe that I can I can sprinkle love into the universe and into my community wherever I go. Like really just be intentional about that. I guess I got that from Christmas Carol and the ghost of the present. He was always sprinkling um all this sparkly stuff all over the place, and he would say that he was doing that because everybody needed that more than anything else. A little sparkle.
A little sparkle, a little shine.
Exactly. Like we all just need to be reminded that we have light inside
Yes.
and to keep letting it shine.
Yeah, I
And the
agree.
people in the darkness will see the light and they'll know that it's okay, that
Yes,
they can walk towards it and they can
definitely.
be held by the light and they can be healed by the light.
Definitely. I like I like those words. I love it because no matter how is it that you're receiving a person's passing, um I'm a person of faith, and I am a true believer that God will reunite us all once again, and he is our creator, and he is our redeemer, and definitely he is our judge. And once I feel like this, when your death is just a passageway to an eternal life. We do not die. We move on and we transition. And the life that we led here in earth on earth um makes an impact on the people around you, the type of person that you were, what legacy you leave behind, and what is it that you want to have people remember you as by, right? So those things to me are also very important. And when I pass away, right, I want to be able to leave something behind to my children, my grandchildren, my great grandchildren, and I want them to be able to know who I was. And I want them to know all positive things. Yeah, I'm human. I have a temper, and I may have a big mouth sometimes. Yeah, but you know what? I know that I like to laugh, I like to have fun, I like to listen, I like to learn. And I see that has those traits of mine have been passed on to my grandchildren, because my son tells me, your granddaughter has a big mouth just like you. I was like, oh great. At least I leave something behind.
Mission accomplished, Marcy.
Mission accomplished. Yes, definitely. It's so funny. But still, this is something that I know that when I go and transition and move, little Marcy will be somewhere in there, you know. But, you know, um, these things we don't have control over, right? We have to leave these things to God, and we have to pray to him no matter what you believe, whether you believe in an afterlife or not. You will find out. And hopefully it won't be too late, but you will find out. And we are eternal souls that go back to our creator, and knows what happens after. But we could only pray, for the people that are grieving. And we just have to be compassionate, you know and that's all I can really say about that.
All
In that
right.
perspective. But any last words, Myra?
I do. I have some last words. And since we changed the concept and we are recorded right now, we're pre-recorded before it gets released, and your listeners will be listening on replay, I really, really, really encourage them to let their voices be heard and share some comments, and let us know about this subject, how this touched you, what you thought, what you're thinking about with regards to grief, and share. I mean, I really would like to connect with that other 48%.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's make a
48%.
movement.
Yes, definitely. And like you said, a lot of that 48%, you can imagine how they're just dealing with this, right? But yeah, we need to touch more base on that, because I think it's like I mentioned before, it's all emotional, mental, and spiritual, you know, all rolled up in one. And if you know someone that has experienced the loss, um, and you know that person, the only thing that I can say is that, be there for that person. Ask them how are they doing today? How are they coping today? Just check up on them, check on their mental well-being, and just lend an ear. That's all we can do as humans for one another at this point.
That's
So
right. Lend an ear and
definitely.
touch a heart.
Yes, definitely. But this has been great, Myra. I thank you so much for jumping on this topic with me. And like you said, I hope that somebody really resonates with what we spoke about today here. And hey, listen, we want to be able to touch on so many different topics moving forward into the new year. So if you hearing this and you catching the replay, um, like Myra said, put it in the comments and let us know what you think about this podcast episode today. So, but I want to go ahead and thank again our sponsors, which is Urban Fairies of Staten Island. Thank you to Alicia Campbell. You are amazing what you're doing for the community. Please, if anyone is interested in volunteering, donating, or serving for the community, and they're also looking for positions, hit them up on Facebook, Urban Fairies of Staten Island. And the director there for that program is Alicia Campbell. Please make sure that you reach out to her. And again, Alicia, thank you so much for being our Gold Mike sponsor. And hope to have you in the show next month because we want to be able to have you on. So definitely. And for everybody that's watching, please have a beautiful, safe holiday. We wish you a lots of love, light, and blessings and a beautiful 2026 for the new year. And you too, Myra.
Thank you. I wish you the same, Marcy. Merry
Yes,
Christmas. Happy New Year. And I'm excited for what's next in 2026.
definitely, definitely. I am excited as well, definitely. So, everybody, this has come to the end of our show, but not at the end of our social media. So, go to our YouTube channel, go to our social media pages, and hit us up. We're waiting to hear from you.
That's right. We're waiting.
Yes, yes. Be well, everyone. Have a beautiful, a blessed new year. Bye bye. Bye,
Bye
Myra.
bye.